Carolis.
Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you. I'm your Wednesday evening host here at BodyBags. It is week 372. It is random week. But with that being said, of course, you know it's probably Italian week. And it is Italian week with some Dario Argento in a film that I've never seen before, but it's been up on my shelf for a little bit. Compliments of Arrow, the Cat o' Nine Tails, second in the Animal trilogy by, again, Mr. Argento himself. And this one, of course, sits right between the bird with the crystal plumage and Four Flies on Gray Velvet, as it were. This is the Arrow release, of course, reversible cover art inside, and it's got a slew of extras, some good stuff in here. But Cat o' Nine Tails, it is giallo. It is a murder mystery, more fashion, even more than the bird with the crystal plumage, fashion more on the old style of murder mystery. Really going to its roots. And with that being said, you know, it's been said that it's a bit of a convoluted film. It's hard to follow at times. But I think a lot can be said by the cover art, which is absolutely brilliant in terms of once you've seen the film at least one time, you can sort of gather a lot from just the artwork. It may be kind of hard to see from your vantage point, but if you're not familiar, don't have your own copy, there is a bound up little girl right, you know, sort of sitting into the cat, and of course, Cat o' Nine Tails. The nine tails, of course, refers to the nine threads or leads that our protagonists have to follow. And the cat, I guess you could say, also acts as our antagonist of the film, the killer who doesn't want to be caught, right? And in this case, by the time you get to the end reveal, it does fly out of left field, sort of. And I don't know, unlike most of Argento's films, you know, where you get to that final reveal and you're just like, what? This one doesn't quite pack that punch with it, but man, Karl Malden, man. Okay, so you got basically what you have here, and well, let me just leap off of this. The nine threads, coming out of just the name of the film, Cat o' Nine Tails, the nine threads that are there for our two protagonists to follow, both Franco, played by Karl Malden, and Carlo, played by James Franciscus. He is a journalist of sorts, an investigative journalist, and really you have this lab that really is next door to Franco's apartment building. I guess he lives in an apartment building higher up, so he can get a nice vantage point in terms of not seeing, of course, because he's blind, but hearing. And if he has his little niece, who is the little girl that's bound up on the cover art, it is his little niece. They sort of share a special relationship with one another, and so he takes care of her, she takes care of him, and so she kind of helps. Early on, there's an incident right off the bat where they're walking home, and he suspects something peculiar going on in a car as they're passing by, and so he bends over to tie his shoes real quick. And he asks her, okay, give me a visual. And so she does. And then he starts to realize something here is off, right? But to pick up on the nine tails, it's one of these tales in particular that really, I'm just going to go off on a limb and say, it is the killer's grand mistake in terms of this film. And that mistake is getting rid of one of the people that find out who the killer is. The killer decides to, you know, sort of conveniently get this person out of the way, and maybe it's probably the grandest, most spectacular kill scene of the entire film takes place at a train station. The guy is he's sort of lulled to appear there, thinking he's going to talk to, I think, the killer and work out an arrangement or a deal. But while he's waiting there, the train that's coming in, there's a celebrity, I guess, of sorts who's coming in on the train. So there's a huge mob of sorts of people there waiting to get a glimpse of this celebrity. And in all the hurrah of the moment, the killer, who's kind of hiding in the shadows, still it seems like a leap and a half, but the killer is able to quickly move out of the shadows. And of course, this is in broad daylight, right? And push this guy into the train thus killing him. And it is a spectacular moment. It is the only moment, short of the end reveal and how that happens, where I just literally, I lurched up in my seat and I was like, what? And I had to see that again. So that is the grand kill. But it's that kill that gets photographed, put in the newspaper, which Frank, our Karl Malden, right, our one of two protagonists, he plays a guy who was an investigative reporter back in the day, but he's had a tragic accident that's left him blind. And so his niece actually picks up on the fact that there's this article in the paper about this tragic accident. And he's like, you know, inquisitive because he's a reporter, so he starts asking her to explain the picture to him, and then read the article, and he starts to get this, you know, that little impulse of I guess that journalistic thing inside of him, investigative thing inside of him. It sort of has this sort of inclination of wondering, there's something else here that we don't know. And so that's really what causes him to reach out to Carlo, our main investigative reporter, and suggest to him that what they need to do is follow up on this photograph, because he believes if it had been cropped for the paper, it may hold a clue as to who may this killer be. And as they're hashing that out, of course, the killer shows up to that photographer's place of work and quickly dispatches with him and the evidence, but it still remains a clue nonetheless. Thankfully, the photographer is able to tell Carlo over the phone what this photograph uncropped holds. And so it does lead that there is something nefarious going on here, and eventually they find out that it sort of stems from something going on in this genetic lab, this Terzi Institute. And basically at the heart of that whole thing is this new test they've unveiled that basically shows an XYY, an extra Y chromosome, which they believe shows violent tendencies in people. And so, of course, they test everyone in the Institute, and well, maybe there's somebody in the Institute that has an extra Y chromosome that doesn't want anyone else to know about it. Hence the beginning of these multiple threads, these 9 threads. But at the heart of this story really is not just Franco's relationship with his niece, Lori, but his relationship with Carlo, and and their investigative qualities bring the two together, and they will begin hand in hand to basically tear apart this thing that's going on, I guess, for the lack of a better word. And eventually there will be, all roads lead to this final one-point destination and the great reveal. But I will say, I will say that, well, I was gonna say there is the very end reveal does make me wonder if David Fincher and company, when they created Seven, weren't at least maybe somewhat inspired even a little bit. And I don't think I'm really giving it away, because I'm not referring to the head of the box or anything like that. There's an innate quality in how Seven wraps itself up and how Cat o' Nine Tails wraps itself up that it just sort of rang with me, and I thought, I wonder. It's considered, I guess, when you read around Argento's lesser efforts. I enjoyed it. I only really watched it one time straight through. I love the fact that Dardano Sacchetti and Luigi Cozzi both helped pen the screenplay, as well as Argento, I believe, was part of that process. Ennio Morricone, of course, he composes the whole Animal trilogy, which is really cool. Our cinematographer will go on to do a few things, nothing, long list of accomplishments, but he will team up with Lucio Fulci on White Fang in 73, I think, that movie White Fang. And a pair of makeup artists on this film too, that's really cool. They will later on, whether it's Hell of the Living Dead, Suspiria, Tenebrae, Absurd, Nightmare City, Don't Open Till Christmas in '84. They separately in their own works will go on to be a part of some really great films. So even though the film does lack in terms of its gratuitousness, I guess, its violence, it's not quite as violent, not really near as violent as much of Argento's later work, or even probably you could even say Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Of course, he'll go on to get much more violent. This movie's really super tame. But at the heart of it, though, is sort of this throwback feel to the way mysteries, I guess, were back in the day. And this is a 71 film, so, we're going back a ways. But I was pretty intrigued. I mean, all the way through. Karl Malden's character is really fun again. Karl, their relationship is really fun to watch. And I got a real kick. I got a real kick out of it. Anyways, let's see. Yeah, I think that pretty much is about it. If you've never seen Cat o' Nine Tails, just know it's the middle entry of a greater animal trilogy, as it's called. I don't think the films have anything really to do with one another. It's just they're all sort of threaded by this idea of an animal, be it a bird, be it the flies, be it the cat. But as a middle entry, and as a film where Argento is continuing to lay the foundation and groundwork for films yet to come, I found it extremely enjoyable. I really did enjoy it. The end that sort of wraps around the reveal, separate of other things that happened within that reveal, I thought packed a little bit bigger of a punch in terms of their characters. I think several of these characters are developed really well over the course of the film. Mainly, of course, Karl Malden and James Franciscus characters as the two journalist reporters. But anyways, it is October, and the middle of the month. We're heading towards the end, of course, with it. November looms ahead, and some cool things coming in terms of Labor Week. And even in October, towards the end on the 24th, we're planning on something really special in terms of a live stream event from the BodyBags channel. So that is the 24th. Be looking out for that. And of course, each and every other review that drops across the week, of course. Stay just plugged into what each and every one is doing, and enjoy some Giallo during this October. And if you've never seen Cat o' Nine Tails, definitely check it out. And it may also be streaming. It may be up on Prime. I should have checked and I didn't. But as far as the Arrow release, so it's pretty packed. It's got a lot of good stuff, including a nice interview with Sacchetti, which is really cool, amongst a lot of interviews and stuff. So. Anyways, was awesome to watch my Georgia Bulldogs pound Tennessee this weekend. Of course, Buffalo's been postponed to Tuesday, I guess. But so football continues to move ahead, and I just can't stop. I mean, it's pretty cool cover art. Anyways, enjoy the rest of the week and the weeks to follow as we get closer to theme week, which is a Murder by the Numbers, I believe. So that ought to be interesting week in terms of the theme. And just continue to support us, man, just by your views, your comments, your likes, and really appreciate it. As always, we leave these things off with Go Bills.